What is up, everybody? We are back, and we have a special edition this time. For the first time ever, somebody said to me, Thelma said, hey, why don't I interview you? So we are going to actually do an interview about Long Island. If you are crazy enough to want to live on Long Island, or you're sticking around and you haven't been chased off yet, I got some good news for you. We're going to give you some great insight as to what Long Island has to offer. So Thelma's going to be the one doing the interviewing. So for the first time, I'm going to close my mouth and hand the mic over to Thelma and let her do my job.
Yay! So, hello, everybody. My name is Thelma Cheeks. I'm a realtor here in Atlanta, Georgia, with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Metro Brokers. And I'm super excited to be here with you today to interview Anthony. He's always interviewing other people and he asks the most amazing questions. And so today we have flipped the script. And so, Anthony, one of my first questions is, because I know you get this a lot, how do you pronounce your last name?
So my last name is Camadella. There's an R in there, and I had a manager one time that was like, well, if you pronounce it without the R, I'm just taking it out. I'm like, well, I'm not going to get my paychecks. And he's like, yeah, figure that out with the bank. And he actually took my R out of my name. So Tom, if you're watching this, thank you for that. But yeah, so Camadella is the last name.
I am so super excited that I asked because I was about to jack that up. I was going to say Carmadelia. Carmadelia.
And it's amazing how many people will put the R before the M, even though it's after. So it's okay. I'm really used to it. I've had everyone call me Camillo, Camel, Camarillo. I've had probably every variation of my last name that you can imagine. So I wouldn't have mind.
So say it one more time for everybody listening.
Camadella.
Anthony Camadella. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to jump right in. What got you into real estate? I know that's one of your favorite questions. You did send me some questions, and I am going off the rip, so be prepared. What got you into real estate?
So I actually my dad is a general contractor and builder. So I spent a lot of time cleaning up job sites. So around houses a lot. And then my dad got sick when I was 11. He had a stroke and he stopped working. So my mom became the main breadwinner of the house, and she actually did that by selling mortgages. And she did all sides of mortgages. She did the processing, the origination. So spending some time around her office, spending some time around job sites, I learned that real estate was probably the better place for me to be.
Interesting, interesting. So how long have you actually been in real estate so far?
In the industry itself, well, I started cold calling in mortgages when I was 16. So probably a little over 20 years in the industry itself. I got my real estate license in 2007. So I've been licensed since then. I got my broker's license in 2014.
Nice. So do you have your own brokerage? You mentioned you have your broker's license. Did you get your own brokerage, or what are you doing with that?
So I work for a company called EXP, and many people have heard of them, but I don't do the whole like, hey, come work for us. I am more focused on building my real estate team. As a real estate brokerage, EXP has a phenomenal payment structure for agents. So I found that it was a good fit for me because they have a capping structure, so you're able to get to 100%. They bonus us with stocks and different incentives like that. So at the end of the year, I actually make more than 100%. So if I went out and I opened my own company, I would not only have the liability, but I would only make 100%. So, the little bit of additions was enough incentive for me to hang my license. So I'm an associate broker here at EXP in my area. And you get the designation associate when you are not the principal broker. Just for people that are confused, they're not different licenses. It's one license, and either you work under another broker, so that you're associate broker, or you are the broker and get the title broker.
Yeah, I'm glad you elaborated on that because a lot of times people think realtor, real estate agent, broker are the same, the same businesses or the same job titles, and they're just not. So thank you for elaborating on that. Can you talk about the difference between a real estate agent and a realtor real quick?
Yeah, so realtor, the actual designation realtor, I believe you can only get when you pay your National Association of Realtor dues, right? So designation of realtors only applies to National Association of Realtor members, which is always good to have. A salesperson versus a broker. A salesperson here in New York is only required to do 75 hours of licensing, pre-licensing before they're able to get their real estate license. Real estate broker has to not only get the 75 hours, they have to do an additional 45 hours, and they had to have completed sales, which are graded on a point system, and you have to have a certain number of points before you qualify for your broker's license. So it's not like you could just walk in and get your broker's license. You got to kind of get your feet wet a little bit, get some experience under you. And then you have to sit for the actual state exam. So you take 2 state exams to get where I'm at today.
Yeah. So point system. I don't believe we have that here in Georgia. I think we have to be, what is it, 3 years as a salesperson first. Is the point system a little something different? Is that a New York thing or?
New York is definitely weird in all ways, so it wouldn't surprise me if we were the only ones that decided to designate some points. You get a certain number of points when it comes to listings, a certain number of points when it comes to sales. You get a certain number of points if you're the co-listing agent. So, yeah, I mean, the point system was definitely something that I remember being really worried about when applying for it, because you're going back through all your old sales and tallying it up, and
Yeah.
you start getting nervous. And I knew in my head I had been doing it long enough and had enough sales to qualify for it, but there was still that moment where I was like, oh no, what if I didn't have it? So so I guess we could be unique in that way.
Yeah. So you don't have to have 3 years as well.
There is a time. I'd be lying if I didn't say I don't know it off the top of my head, though. I don't. I think the time frame is 2 years, if I remember correctly. Like, it's a minimum of 2 years, but it's 2 years and points. I do know that the points are, you can't just get it with time. The only exceptions to getting your broker's license in the state of New York is if you have passed the New York State bar and you're an attorney, you can apply for the broker's license and immediately be a real estate broker. You don't have to have the 75 hours plus the 45-hour broker course. Like, your law school was good enough for them. They're good with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that in school. Actually, my instructor was from New York, and she did not go through real estate school. She, just applied for it, like you just said. So,
Yeah.
yeah, good information. All right, and this is a favorite question of mine. I like to ask people this all the time. What sets you apart from your competitors?
So I've had, and I get this a lot. People are like, well, you're young. What do you mean? I've just had a tremendous amount of life experience. So with that comes an enormous amount of empathy.
Mhm.
And I'm just very aware that no one's circumstance is the same. And I think salespeople get mixed up thinking that, yeah, you can memorize a script. Yes, you can memorize certain sales patterns. But when you get into the habit of treating everyone like they're the same size shoe and you're the only foot, okay, you're setting yourself up for rapid failure. So the one thing that I know that I do tremendously well at is being empathetic towards my clients' situations, because whether it's a good situation and we're celebrating something, that has to be a good experience. If it's a hard situation, you have to be empathetic to that. And having the experience that I've gone through so far, I know for a fact that you can't come to me with a situation that I haven't encountered already. Like, I just know it. And it might be unique in a certain way. I'm sure it is, but it's never something I'm not prepared for taking care of.
Right. Nice. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Earlier today, in the interview and before we got on air, you had mentioned building your team and growing your brand. So, what was the first hire, and how many people do you have on your team? Do you see growth in the near future, and what does that look like?
Yeah. So, my team, coincidentally, started probably 12 years ago originally, and it's been, we're like that band that's broken up and gotten back together with new drummers a handful of times. Building a team comes with the same complexities as building a family, right? Like, if you imagine the difficulties of marriage and relationships and things like that, If you imagine that, it's exactly like building a team, because it's going to take a little more from one part of the team than it's going to take from the other at times, and there's a total ebb and flow and work and commitment to it.
Mm-hmm.
So my first team member, because I thought it was a good idea, uh, you know, was always those closest to me, friends, past clients and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
As I've grown as a team leader, and you've heard the saying before, I'm sure, like, it's best not to do business with friends, and there's true meanings to that. I'm sure that some friends could probably form really great partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're a team leader, it's inevitable that, if you're working alongside a friend, they're just not going to love the fact that they're working for you. So if I can give a warning to anybody building a team right now, don't start with a friend or a family member unless you plan on making them an actual partner.
Right.
And to be fair, that's probably what friends and family deserve. Looking back on it, right? But that wasn't my plan, and I would do it differently if I did it again, in making sure that I found people who were there. Now, approaching almost 18 team members for the team, which, yeah, we take people on and we incubate them to getting their real estate license.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm affiliated with a real estate school called Main Street Success over here on Long Island. And they have a really awesome tutoring program that helps agents who, like, they sat for the 75 hours, but you're really just getting information thrown at you.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a really great tutoring program that's comprehensive and helps you get ready to actually take the test, and prepares you to pass the test. So we bring agents in who kind of have already started the 75-hour licensing course. We put them into the tutoring program. I start actually teaching them the stuff that really matters, how to fill out an offer, how to do this, how to do that, so
Yeah.
that when they get their license, we have a little graduation ceremony for them, and they're able to kind of like hit the ground, get out there with their first client, and
Mm-hmm.
really get going. So, that has been the way the team has been built. From now on, and we have friends that I have definitely made from within the industry that are on the team, which I'm very appreciative of. But no more childhood friends for me coming onto the team.
Mm-hmm. So what if you were speaking to somebody else who was trying to grow a team, what positions should they be looking to hire first, and what positions should they grow into? And let's talk about the time frame in building a team. Like, what's a realistic time frame to court somebody? Because you mentioned a marriage and a family.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So there's a phrase. You'll have to forgive me because I know it didn't originate from the person that I learned it from.
Mhm.
He gives credit to the person it actually belongs to. But the phrase is, be slow to hire and quick to fire.
Mhm.
And that, I think, comes from, you have to take the time to really get to know who you're going to get into this business relationship with. You have to take the time to be insanely clear on what your intentions are, what their intentions are. And it's your first hire should honestly be someone of necessity. I wouldn't find it someone who is gonna just help build. It's got to be someone who you need, right? So I always say that your first hire should be a transaction coordinator, right? So Jared recommends it being a transaction coordinator. I agree with him after knowing what I know now, because letting go of the transaction after it's under contract, you should, right? You should be focused on the next sale. And I
Yeah.
know that one thing that slows agents down from growth is it's really hard to keep multiple plates spinning in the air if you're
Mhm.
so focused on the first one that you had spinning for the longest. And transactions coordinators really help with that. So a lot of people think a team is a bunch of licensed sales agents that are all selling houses, but honestly, a team can be like you, an admin, and a TC. That's a team.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be multiple salespeople. So that's the first thing. So identify what kind of team you want. That would be my first piece of recommend. Are you building a team because you're very busy and you need help, or are you building a team because you want? I built my team because after being in real estate for 17 years, I hit a place where I was not getting the same fulfillment that I originally had gotten out of just showing up and selling a house.
Mhm.
And when commission checks became not exciting to me anymore, I had to have a real heart to heart with myself because, we make good money as real estate agents.
Mhm.
And those commission checks are not anything to take lightly.
Mhm.
And some people work months on end. I mean, my own mother um, works tirelessly for checks that are a tenth of
Mhm.
that size. And then when every time I need a little bit of a humble moment, I talk to my mom about what she took home that week and what she had to do at work. And it makes me realize how lucky I am. And when I stopped appreciating it, I started looking around at the industry and figuring out what I actually liked about it. And I'll never forget that a majority of the people that I've helped get into the industry, they started off in a different job. And I
Mhm.
was able to watch them quit that part-time job and turn this into what they wanted to do full time.
Mhm.
And some of them were able to do things like be around for their kids.
Mhm.
Um, and that's huge, right?
It is.
So when you can make an impact like that into somebody's life, that all of a sudden gave me the same kind of spark that I was getting when I was making commission checks in the beginning at 23, and you got this big check and you're like, oh my God. uh, but that had gotten numb. So I made the real commitment probably 5 years ago to start growing an actual real team and thinking about the structure of it and what I wanted to do. And the goal here and has been and continues to be we take part-timers and turn them into full-time rock stars. I mean, that's what we do here. So I know plenty of people that have come through the University of Anthony, and they're out there selling houses now and doing quite well. Some of them chose to not be with me anymore, and as much as that hurt at times, I understand everyone's got to walk their own path sometimes. So
Mhm.
the team that we have now, that I focused on building now, we're more of a family that wants to work together and see the ultimate end growth. We have a good 10-year plan that we're all working towards, and I'm proud of them. I really am. Like we have we've come a long way, and it's so sorry that was a long explanation, but to anybody
Oh,
who's
that was
considering joining a team, I highly recommend you figure out why you're doing it. And if you're not doing it to help others,
good.
just hire staff.
Right.
That's what you want,
Right.
right?
Right.
You don't want fellow salespeople at that point. That's a whole nother ball game.
So, I mean, you definitely explained all of that really well. I do want to go a step further because in building a team, you obviously have to think about like taxes and tax write offs and maybe CPAs and payroll. That's huge. So, without getting too deep into that, how did you find the plan? And who was the first person you called in order to help you prepare for taxes and payroll and different things like that?
All right. So, at a previous company, when I had my own team, I 1099 the employees, which, to be very honest with you, was a cluster. I didn't like it. That was like, for me, not my thing.
Mhm.
I'm all about paying some of our vendor supports, my photographers, all those normal things. That's fine. But
Yeah.
to deal with 1099s for agents and stuff, that was the other reason why I chose EXP, because not only do they release the liability, which falls on the actual broker, but on top of that, they have an entire accounting department. So they handle the accounting, which actually is the one who pays the agent after our splits. I put the splits into the transaction, so they know exactly what the splits are. Those splits go out, and the agents have their direct deposit put into their account from EXP. So for me, I don't actually handle any of their accounting, but on a personal level, right? Because at the end, we do make good money here. For the personal side of it, right? Me, Anthony, right? Yeah, you get an accountant. You can have, which I would recommend you do. You could blank out all your statement numbers and stuff like that, but find somebody on like Fiverr, okay, to have them set up a little QuickBooks for you and itemize out all your expenses. You
Mhm.
might pay this person $400 for a one-time thing. You take that QuickBooks and you give it to your actual accountant, and he's probably going to kiss you on the forehead, because the biggest thing is tracking expenses. And there's things that I'm definitely good at, and there's things I'm not good at. Sitting there with a ruler and going line item by line item, like I'm not that guy. So there's somebody out there who will do it. My advice to people is put. Somebody told me one time, For every commission check you get, put 10% away for taxes, and it'll probably be a little more than what you need at the end of the year. If you have a good accountant and good write-offs. If you make great money, you really need to sit down with a good accountant. You really need to track your expenses. I would recommend doing it on a monthly, but I'm not a CPA, but I would say up to $80,000 a year, you're probably okay trying to track it yourself. When you get into the six figure, you're going to want to talk to your accountant about having an LLC and all those other things that real estate agents should honestly look into for tax purposes when you get to a certain point.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Totally agree. All right, your favorite subject. Let's talk about your area. You mentioned Long Island. Everybody knows you're from on Long Island. I want to ask you, what is your favorite part about your area? Something most people don't know about Long Island, and yeah, let's hear it.
So I would say most people would think that you have to go into Manhattan for all the food, but honestly, Long Island kills it when it comes to a lot of
Mhm.
diversity in food. We have barbecue. We have a lot, and because we're so diverse, and I always laugh because I feel like the number one listen to music locally is country music. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Which is funny for me because growing up, the furthest thing New York was known for was country music.
Right.
But if you listen to like Sirius XM The Highway,
Mhm.
right, and they do that Friday night show, like most of the people they interview are like always from Long Island, and I laugh because I'm saying to myself, like, we're not really a farm town. We have like 5 farms that sell pumpkins that get crowded during Halloween time. So
Uh-huh.
it's interesting just how diverse it is because like there you'll have like country music playing, but then it's like you could have we have so many little pockets of towns that have so much different things to offer, and I keep going through it in my head and I'm saying to myself, you can go to some towns and have the best Mexican food you've ever had in your life.
Mhm.
And it's authentic and it's fresh and delicious. And then you could drive 2 towns over and find yourself a pocket neighborhood that has like some of the uh, best Jamaican jerk chicken. Like it really, like the diversity that we have, I think
Yeah.
is one of my favorite parts. So, and then of course we're an island, so we're a beach. Basically our entire island is like one long beach on both sides.
Okay.
And because we have a North Shore and a South Shore, buyers have to make choices. Do you want a rocky beach that you could walk on with your sneakers on, but you might not want to lay on? Or do you want all sand? Because our South beaches are all sand, our North beaches are all rocks. So you get some views, you can get some nice sand. So yeah.
Nice, nice. So Long Island is pretty much a long beach. How many miles is Long Island? Like, what's the dimensions? Do you know?
So yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's 180 miles long and about 60 miles wide at its widest point. So we're pretty small.
Pretty big. I
Um,
thought that was big. 180 miles long.
so when you think about the
Good
fact that it
city.
really only takes about 2 hours and 20 minutes to drive from Manhattan to Montauk, that's tip to tip.
Mm, okay. No traffic.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's probably with a little bit of stop and go, right? Like a little bit
Mhm.
of stop and go, 2 hours and 25 minutes. Yeah. Without traffic, honestly, you do that trip at 4:30 in the morning, you could probably do it in an hour and a half. Like
Okay.
it's not too bad, but yeah, it's just not that big. Let's put it this way: it doesn't feel that big. You're
I
constantly
was gonna
running into
say it
people that
sounds
you know.
big
Yeah,
to me. Sounds
yeah,
big to me, but I guess
yeah,
I
no,
gotta go.
yeah.
It sounds long.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm from Michigan, primarily. That's where I'm originally from, and we have a place called Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island is only like 8 miles long. Like you can
Okay.
literally ride your
Yeah,
bike
that's
around
like
Mackinac Island.
all right. Fair enough. Yeah, that's probably more like Fire Island for us. I mean, Fire Island is much smaller, so um,
Okay.
yeah, Fire Island is right below Long Island. fun little history fact is it's called Fire Island because they used to set it on fire back when, ships would battle, and
Mhm.
they would make the ships think that there was a wreckage, and then they would come out from behind the port and blast the hell out of them. So that's why it got its name Fire Island. But yeah, that's a tiny island. I guess we're a good size. We're only two counties, Nassau and Suffolk County. They include Queens inside of Long Island too, but anyone from Queens would fight you if you tried to say it was part of Long Island. So
All right. So, what don't you like about living in your area? I mean, you told me all the good things and what your favorite parts was, but
yeah.
what's a pet peeve of yours there? What's a con?
All right. So I probably got a few. One would certainly be the traffic. The Long Island Expressway has, like, from what I have been told by people who have been to both places, has like Los Angeles style, like just gridlock, stop forever, trying to get in. We only have bridges or tunnels to get off of Long Island. So you got to remember, it's not like driving through, you probably got 80 roads just in one county that cross over from Georgia to another state.
Yeah.
Whereas here we have like 5 bridges or tunnels that you have to choose from, and everyone's trying to get on or off the island at the same time. So getting on and off the island is absolutely horrendous, and it will take you hours if you try to leave in the middle of the day. It's also got a pretty high cost of living. I've been noticing lately some conversations that I've had with people. They're like, well, what do you pay for gas? And when I tell them, I'm like, yeah, we're still like lingering between $3.50 and $4 a gallon. Some people are like, oh, well, we have much cheaper. The taxes, obviously, that's my favorite thing.
Mhm.
Our property taxes on average are so expensive. They're $10,000 and change annually for property taxes. So even when you pay your house off and you retire, you're still looking at a pretty hefty monthly bill for just living. So those are probably my least favorite, and some of the grumpy people.
Well, okay. What is the average price of the homes? You mentioned that they're pricey, but what's the average price?
So I believe average price of Long Island right now is still trending around 500,000 mark. It might have cooled off just a little bit because we have been declining. We're only down about 8%, I would say, for the last year or so. So call it 475 right now. You could probably get an average home. We've sold a couple recently, though. I was really proud of my team because they got a couple of deals, and when I saw the price on the house versus what the people were getting, I mean, we just sold a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, decent sized house for, I think, 4 and change. So there's opportunities out there still. What we don't have that I think some of the country still has is there's no $200,000 houses left here
Yeah.
on Long Island at all. Like, not even as a fixer upper, not a foreclosure. Our foreclosures are in the threes. I just sold a piece of land with no house on it for 250. So it's just not. There's nothing there like that.
Right. Well, 400, $500,000 average price range doesn't sound bad at all for New York.
Yeah. So again, depending on the town you pick, if you go into Nassau County, that number is probably closer to about 600. If you try to go into Queens, that number is probably closer to 750, 800. So depending where you're trying to go in New York, really going to make a difference. If you go upstate, I mean, gosh, you could probably go upstate and find a piece of land for $50,000 still. So depending on how far away from the city you're willing to travel in New York, you do have options. It's very downstate of me. I always tend to forget that, like, most of New York's land mass is way past Manhattan, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Last and final question. What's the weather like in your area and how long can we get it? I mean, because if Long Island is a beach,
Yes.
I would hope that we could use this piece of property, this beach, for at least 8 months out the year. What does that look like up there?
So we get all 4 seasons. Yep. We will get snow in the winter. We get a spring. We get a fall. So I know that people love the fall here because they get their pumpkin spice nonsenses and their flannel with their all the fall things to go out and go pumpkin and apple picking and all those other things. So I know that fall's big here. Spring feels like lately is like 2 seconds long. We tend to go from like really cold weather, and then before you know it, summer's here. Summer probably officially starts mid to late June, though. It could be pretty chilly in the beginning of June. So hit or miss there. And summer probably ends right around middle of September. It'll start getting chilly middle of September. So you'll get 3 solid months of beach weather, give or
Mhm.
take. The best weather, if you're going to travel to Long Island and you want to know the best week to come and hang out on the beach, it's going to be June 30th through like July 9th or 10th.
Oh, okay.
Historically is just always some of the hottest weather that Long Island gets during that time. You've got the air show down at Robert Moses Beach with the Blue Angels. I mean, that time of year here on Long Island is probably like picture
Okay.
perfect if you're going to come visit.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that concludes our interview. Anthony, thank you so much. This was fun. Did you have a good
Thank
time?
you.
How
I
did
did.
it feel on that side of the seat?
I'll tell you, I much rather ask the questions. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. It was very fun, and I appreciate you taking the time with me.
Yes, please do something with this. Please do something with this for your audience, and give us just to end it. Where can we find you? Where can we, look for you? What kind of things do you have for, potential clients, potential team members, or people who want to join your team? Where can they find you?
Yeah. So my personal Instagram, although I took a holiday break, it's Active Realtor on Instagram and on TikTok and whatever other nonsense is out there. It's Active Realtor, and then you can find me by my name on Facebook. And for my team, and for any agents that are thinking of joining the team, as of January 1st, the A-Team University launches, which is a full-scale training platform for every member of my team that can go on there. It's broken into 3 levels. It's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So no matter where you are in your career, there's all kinds of information in there to help you get going. So that's one thing. And then for my customers and consumers, as you know, we always like to put our community first. So if you are in any type of need, I don't care if you need a house, that doesn't matter to me. But if you're hard on a meal, if something's going wrong in your life right now, you could reach out to the A-Team, no questions asked. We'll drop something off at your house. We'll send something over to you. We are just constantly here. It's community first always. So whatever anybody needs, I want you to know you could reach out. We will keep it completely anonymous. No one ever has to know. Come into my DM on Instagram, do whatever you have to do. And, we're here to help out no matter whether or not you're looking to buy a house. So as always, thank you to everybody. We appreciate you.
That is awesome, and especially at this time of the year, because so many people are struggling in the dark. So that is awesome. Thank you so much, Anthony. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and happy holidays to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Happy New Year, everybody.
Bye.